Debt deal in place by tomorrow. Congressman Sandra Levin is a Democrat from Michigan, a ranking member of the House Ways and Means Committee. He joins us from the Hill. Congressman, good morning to you.
Glad to be with you. I've been listening to your program. Very interesting indeed.
Thank you.
Very interesting.
We try. We're told the vice president's going to make his way to the House around noon today. Do you need to be sweet-talked at all?
Well, I don't need to be sweet-talked, but we need to be straight-talked. Clearly, there was a need to raise the debt ceiling, and this legislation does it in more than 6 months. It was critical that that be accomplished, and that's one of the pluses. But the vice president's going to come here, and he has to answer this question. Is this balanced? As the administration has said, cuts are also, there are going to be some revenues. And I've just begun to read the 74 pages. I read the speaker's charts, and it says here, no tax hikes, requires baseline to be current law, effectively making it impossible for the Joint Committee to increase revenues. Right. He calls them taxes. I don't think that's accurate. We need to probe that, because here's the problem. This trigger is said, because it hits defense, is likely to cause Republicans to be open-minded about a balanced approach. But the speaker seems to be saying in advance that they won't be open, so it won't be balanced. So we need to talk with the vice president to see how we make sure that there is a balanced approach. The public wants this. It's necessary. We have to protect Social Security. We have to protect Medicare. If there's a very imbalanced proposal, if the trigger is going to make it impossible to even look at revenues, then it isn't balanced. That's a major concern that I have.
Understood. That said, if in fact your understanding is that they cannot tackle revenue increases, does that mean a no vote for you? And does that mean that Pelosi can't deliver enough Democratic support to get this through the House?
Now, that's what the speaker says. But I don't know the basis for his saying that. I know they're opposed to any changes. They want to defend the upper income tax cuts at all costs. That's been their major driving force. People making $1 million, you can't touch their taxes. We need to talk to the vice president about the possibility of there being a balanced approach here. That's essential. We've got to raise the debt ceiling in a way that there is some balance. We need to restore confidence, but we also, by the way, I heard your program talking about economic growth. We also have to be sure that we can spark economic growth these next months.
So are you saying, sir, that Nancy Pelosi is going to have a very hard time in delivering the votes necessary in the House to get this through in the next 24 hours?
I don't think it will be easy, but that's why we're meeting to talk this thing through and to understand it, to read these 74 pages, to look at kind of the spin that's coming out of the Republican side, to see how true it is and how inaccurate it is. My drive is to understand this, to make sure that we raise the ceiling. We had to do this. It's been held hostage. I want to try to be sure that there's a balanced approach here. The administration said that was necessary, and we're going to ask the vice president, is that now almost certain to happen?
In the meantime, I'm assuming that you are as happy as you can be about the fact that we are now going to, in advance, legislate spending cuts at a time when we've just had another bad piece of data that has brought the market down over 100 points, and the GDP data, as you mentioned earlier, was very poor on Friday. You're happy with the fact that we can, in a sense, have that spending cuts written in advance, come what may?
I'm very worried about the need to boost economic growth. And I think simply cutting will not promote economic growth. We have to do more than that. We have to do more than that. I come from Michigan, but wherever you come from in this country, jobs is a #1 priority. These recent figures show the need to spark economic growth, and the Republican mantra has been just cut the deficit. Don't worry about anything else. And I think that's a mistake. We have to have a balanced approach as to who bears the burden and we also have to make sure that we promote economic growth. A package might instill confidence. We need, I think, more than that to spark growth.
Congressman Levin, Jason Trennert from Strategic Research Partners, what would the Democrats be open to in terms of pro-growth legislation to help businesses and private enterprise hire people?
I think we need to get the credit flowing. It is not flowing very well. I think we also, I would be in favor of looking at another payroll period where we would forego to try to spark economic growth. Look, growth is so essential to addressing the deficit. We need to get spending under control. We also need to get growth moving. Otherwise, we aren't going to cut the deficit, get a control of it enough. That's been true throughout our economic history. You can't simply cut and get economic growth. You have to have a balanced approach, and the key word here is balance.
Is balance. I don't need to tell you, though, Congressman, if this does not get through the House, what will happen to markets? Is that something you think congressmen who vote against it are willing to have on their hands?
I think the answer is no. I think we have to move the debt ceiling. I don't think we can let the full faith and credit of the U.S. be jeopardized. So I think those who are thinking of voting now, no, if they think it's unbalanced. If they thought it would fail, would vote yes. It has to pass, but it also needs to be framed in a way so that the message is clear as we carry this out, that we have to get revenues as well as spending cuts. Balance is the critical word here.
Congressman, appreciate your time today. Good to see you as always.
Thanks. Nice to be with you once again.
Senator Levin, great state of Michigan. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So what is the Fed likely to do about the debt crisis? We'll get insight from former Fed Governor